Hey guys, welcome back. We're Cassie and Tara, twin sisters and technical analysts. Today, we're discussing the charts, showing key levels and what we're expecting next in the crypto market using our framework, Elliott Wave Theory, RSI, and Fibonacci. And if you want more analysis throughout the week, inside our Discord, we're hosting a daily live stream where we come together and prepare for the trading day. Join us at twinsofcrypto.com. Today's stream is sponsored by BloFin, a trusted exchange where traders in the US can get access to futures and leverage trading. So make sure to use our Twins of Crypto link in the description to sign up. Okay, guys, in just a moment, we're going to get started. This is going to be streaming on X and also on Twins of Crypto YouTube. So come say hi to us in the chat, pull up your charts, and let's see what Bitcoin and XRP are telling us today.
Hello, everybody. Cassie, you're muted.
I always do that. Start it right off muted.
Yes, I know.
Hello.
Hey, guys. Hi, Lisa.
Tara's a little bit sick today, so
Yes.
sorry that we're late, but I pretty much was like, you don't have a choice. You have to come to this live stream.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. I hope I can make it through the whole live stream. But yeah, I've been sick literally all week. It feels like I know the market is super exciting right now, and I'm like trying to get excited about it, but it honestly feels like I have brain fog. I can't even think about anything right now because I'm so sick. But yeah, hopefully.
I'm not muted yet, or still, right?
No, I mean, I can
Okay,
hear you just fine, yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Patrick. Hi, Adam. Hi, guys. If you are joining us on Twitter, make sure to come and say hi. And then also, I will be streaming this to YouTube as well, or I am right now, currently. So if you are there, make sure to come and say hi in the chat as well so we can say hi, know that you're here. And also, while we go through the charts today, make sure to ask your questions in the chat so we can get them all answered.
Yes. We will have some dedicated time at the end of the stream for Q&A. And it's really hard to follow as people put questions in, like throughout the stream. I always have to think back, okay, like what were some of our questions?
Yeah.
So it would be good. People are saying that they can't hear me.
Oh.
So how do I turn that up?
I don't know. I mean, I can hear you just fine. So, and it looks like it's Care Talk a Second.
Yeah, it is showing that nothing is coming out for sound for me.
Oh, yeah. So YouTube can hear you. I'm not sure. It must be maybe on your Streamlabs.
Let me check. Okay. Just a little bit of a technical glitch there, but I think this is better because it's picking up my sound now.
Okay, good.
So, hello, everyone.
Finally, it's because you.
Now we can explain why we were late a little bit better, and it's because of Tara. No, I'm just kidding. Tara wasn't feeling good, and basically I told her that she has to come to this live stream.
Yeah.
Even
or
if,
else.
Sick, rain, sick, anything. No excuses.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think everyone picked up what Tara was saying, so we don't need to repeat that. But what I was saying is that at the end of the live stream, we will have a section for Q&A. If you have any questions, put it around near the end of the live stream so that we don't forget to answer your question.
Yeah. And I know and then at the end of the videos, we're going to forget. Or at the end of the live, we're going to forget and then just do a replay and move on because that's what we always do. We're always crunched for time at the end. So,
yes, it's good to see you all here. We have Jeff in here, Claire, Mick, Batman. Hello, everyone. All the usuals. Yeah, I don't think Tara's feeling better. And I went through this sickness probably 5 days ago. Yeah. So you're like at the brunt of it right now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, at least, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm running on crypto and coffee. No, I was going to say crypto and cough medicine, but no, coffee's more accurate.
Yeah, so don't make her laugh because she might have like a coughing spell.
Fit. Yeah, I'll have a coughing fit. We'll have to discontinue the live stream. No, I'm hoping I can make it without coughing.
No, our little sister got us both sick. It was not me getting Tara sick.
Yeah, and my daughters are both sick too, so that's just it's been the worst, literally.
Since Easter.
Since Easter, yeah. So that sucks.
If you all wanted to know.
If you wanted to know. But yeah, so that's why I haven't been like posting my charts or anything. I feel like I've opened up my laptop so many times to look at the market, and I'm just like, I can't even focus on what the charts are doing. That's how sick I am. It takes a lot.
Well, it's starting to finally perk up a little bit, so hopefully that gets you in a better mood.
Yeah, kind of.
Let's talk about the market then. I think we can start with XRP, like we always do. We are getting so many questions, like not in the chat, but just up until today with this movement. It's like we need to set everyone straight right now on what is actually happening.
Yeah, we haven't gotten together like you and I, but I already know what your update's going to be. So, so we're going to do XRP macro and then micro, and then Bitcoin macro and then micro, and then altcoins.
No, I think we'll do go from macro to micro, right?
Yeah.
Altcoins, okay, the usual. So if there's any altcoins that you want to see when we're in that altcoin segment, let us know. Because a lot of times when they come through the chat, I'll write it down.
Yeah.
And those are ones we can come to in altcoin section.
Yeah. All right, Cass, take it over.
So should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we have... I guess I could zoom out a little bit more and start like back to the daily. I think that's a good macro for now.
Yeah. And
then we are going to get into the micro of what's kind of happening on more of the smaller time frames. But I'll step out to Binance for the macro so we don't have any of those small time frame fibs. Okay, so here is Binance. And we've talked about this in almost every single one of our live streams, and the macro has not changed at this point. So if you are not familiar with what we think on the macro, this is for you. But for the regulars, this is going to be a little bit of a recap here. So this is back on the daily, like I said, and from all-time high, we are tracking a wave 2 down. With our wave 2, normally that would target the 618 retracement, but can go as low as a double bottom. So what this means here on XRP is we have already reached to that significant textbook level, which is the 618. That is at $1.65. On Binance, it's a little bit different. So on this chart, it's $1.56. Binance and Coinbase are about 10 cents off between targets here. So you can see that we are actually coming right up to that golden pocket, that 6.5 retracement, and we're hitting resistance right now on that. So we're going to get zoomed in a little bit, but just talking about this larger macro time frame happening here, nothing has changed in this. And what's interesting here on Binance is back when we had that flush in October, we came all the way down and perfectly reached the 854 retracement. So this did not happen over on Coinbase. Coinbase is actually making a new low with our lows over here, but you can see here on Binance, we're not making a new low. So Binance has reached significant levels already, but with this big flush that we saw in the wick, it is very common for the price action to come back down and retest those areas just to make sure that all liquidity is picked up. So here we are sitting right at the 6.5 retracement. This is a very critical area of resistance. We spent probably 2 full months underneath this resistance, and we're just coming back up to test that right now. So on our macro plan, what we keep repeating for a few months now is that we would either need to come down and test these lower supports or be able to break our 618 retracement up. So we haven't done that yet, but we're getting really close. So when we zoom in, we'll take a look at that a little bit more. But sticking to that plan is going to really help remove the emotion in these green candles that are coming in, because everyone is highly emotional right now. So what we're seeing here on the 6.5 on Binance, it's at $1.45. And the 618 on Binance is $1.56. When I get to small time frames, we'll be on Coinbase, so it's going to look a little different. But the lower supports are $1 and then 78 cents down here. So 77 cents, 78. Like I said, they're about 10 cents off on exchanges. So just kind of keep that in mind. You want to use the chart that you're going to be buying or trading on to get the prices that you need. So since we have not flipped the 618 to support yet, that's still our plan, is that we would either be buying our lower supports down here below or waiting for this $1.65 to flip to support. And I'm saying $1.65 because I'm so used to Coinbase, but this is on Binance, that level is $1.57 pretty much. So we're kind of just waiting to see if the price action has enough strength to flip that to support. When I get zoomed in here in a little bit, it'll make a little bit more sense because I have small time frame fibs over there. So I think, yeah, nothing has really changed on this macro plan. We are still definitely within this wave 2. And I don't think that we have found our bottom yet, but we are coming up to levels where that idea or theory might get invalidated of our lower supports, and we might start to see some momentum come in. One thing to point out is this low here. So this, I believe, is a wave 3 down because this was a significant flush besides this one, which I'm kind of disregarding because it only happened here on Binance. But this big flush down is definitely a wave 3. Wave 3s are very obvious in the market cycle, and you can just see this price action was devastating. And then our RSI printed a very extreme low. So this has all the hallmarks of being our wave 3 down over here, which would mean that the price action that follows that is a wave 4, and we would need another low or double bottom to help finish off this trend. So when I get zoomed in here in a little bit, that's what you're going to see. And that's kind of why I think that we are not done with this correction yet. We need to either come down to $1 or the 87 cents again, or in here on Binance is about 78 cents. So I still think we have these lower supports to be reached, but that theory is getting tested right now as we speak. So let's zoom in here a little bit and take a look at our small time frame. So this is kind of giving us the bigger picture and the positioning of where we're at in the market cycle. We are actually going to zoom in now on just this wave 4 here. And I've been doing this on Coinbase. I do have my buy sitting at 93 cents on Coinbase. And it's a lot easier for me to chart on Coinbase. It's funny because Tara always charts on the other exchange and we're always a little bit off. But that's why. Exchanges are about 10 cents off.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was that wave 3 low that I just talked about over on the high time frames. We had very significant sell pressure. The price action afterwards is a wave 4. And even though we've kind of consolidated or ranged for months after that low, it's still developing as we would expect for a wave 4. So let's talk about wave 4s a little bit. In a wave 4, it is a correction wave. So we would either have an ABC pattern or a consolidation, which in Elliott wave theory is measured out as A, B, C, D, E. So what's interesting is a lot of times when we have the A, B, C, D, E, it looks like it's forming that ABC right away. And then just with time, it kind of reveals it to be a triangle pattern. Or it can look like it's a consolidation and reveals that it's an ABC. But what we can see here is right away, we had a pretty good, clean ABC coming up. So it came up to the 382 here on A, and then the second test was right at the 0.5, which is also testing our major 618 levels. So hopefully that's, let me delete those smaller time frames. Hopefully you guys can see those. These are our major fib levels that we just saw on the macro. We're just really zoomed in now on the price action. So this is the few months that we've been holding underneath that resistance. And so at first it did look like it played out a perfect ABC, you know, right up to the resistance. But with time, it's revealing more that we're in this consolidation type pattern. But both are totally okay and expected for a wave 4. Nothing is going to change the fact that this low over here was very strong selling pressure and most likely will need another low or a double bottom to complete that. So nothing has changed that at this point. If we do start to break up above this 618 level, which on Coinbase here is $1.65, it would start to make those lower supports less likely, but we haven't done that yet. And so if I get a little bit more zoomed in on our consolidation here, so from the low of wave 3, we're going to be counting out our A, B, C, D, E. Because this is definitely looking like it's forming this consolidation, especially with our recent push and kind of targeting that top trend line again. So I don't think that this is the breakout wave. I think we're just coming back up to finish wave E of that consolidation. So if we come up, this is A, B down towards the trend line, C is at top of trend line, D is just forming the bottom trend line here. And now we are on the final wave of consolidation, and that's wave E. So let me zoom in just a tiny bit here. Wave E has a few different patterns it can do within itself. It's the most emotional pattern of all the consolidations. So if you think about like a spring tightening up towards our apex, this is the one that's going to hold the most emotion in here. And I think it can be tracked either way as an impulse or an ABC. We've kind of gone between both of those patterns in our Discord, and both of them are still valid. So what I have mapped out here is an impulse for wave E coming up. And if I zoom in just a little bit, that means that we just had our wave 3 of that wave E. And it came perfectly up to that 1618 extension, which is exactly what we would want to see for our wave 3. And all of this would make up our E wave coming up. So zooming in a little bit, that would mean that we need a small wave 4 coming down before coming back up to test our resistance. And everything is kind of fibbing out perfectly. So that's why I really think that this is the plan. Coming down for wave 4, we have 2 possible targets here. Normally, we would target the 382 retracement, and that is at $1.43, $1.44 if you round it up a little bit, and these are Coinbase prices. Or we could come as low as the 0.5 retracement, which is around $1.41, and then like $1.42 if you wanted to round that out. So we have this wave coming down to those 2 levels, finishing off a final wave of wave E. So this is the 5th wave of wave E, and that's coming right up to tag our $1.53 resistance. So this is what I'm expecting here. You can see our macro fibs are right here. We have our 618 and we have the 0.65. Both of these, I think, are going to serve as major resistance, and I do not think that we are going to have the strength to break those until we come down and test our lower supports again. So everything is still kind of going to plan. I still have my buy sitting down below. The only thing that's going to change that is $1.65 up here getting flipped to support. Right now, it's just heavy resistance at this time. So I think that this is the plan coming down for our subwave 4 down here. And then you can see that if we do come down towards that $1.42 or $1.41, that it lands perfectly with our wave 5 at $1.53. So far, this is what I'm expecting. If you did want to catch along on XRP, if you wanted to trade this, you could try to get in at these wave 4 targets here. We have not come up and tested the resistance yet. So there could still be a push from $1.42 to $1.53, finishing off this correction. But what I'm seeing is as we kind of measure this out, it's still holding major resistance at that level. And that's kind of why we said to remove the emotion of what's happening with our candles, stick to the major fibs. And that's what we have here on our right. We have the 618, the 0.65, which is the golden pocket. Both of these are together considered the golden retracements. So I just still think that we are well within that range. We are either going to be buying our lower supports down below or buying $1.65 once we flip that to support. So I just think as we zoomed in and kind of look at the subwaves, it helps remove the emotion of what's happening because everything is really hinting like we are going to be seeing resistance soon at that $1.53 area. So everything is going to plan so far. Our wave E here, you can see that that's the 618. Hopefully you can see that. This is the 618 retracement coming up here. I'm sorry, extension. That's matching up to the $1.53. It can go as high as $1.65 and still kind of have more resistance. The wave E can form and conform to our trend lines here, or it can look like it's staging a little bit of a breakout before we get a heavy rejection. But either way, I think we are going to be capped at this area here, and the subwaves are definitely leaning towards $1.53 being our top. So I wouldn't be taking any longs. Do you want to say something, Tar? I'm just been talking.
I tried talking, and I don't think any sound came out. But are you able to get that 618 extension? Because you said it's. I don't see it on there.
Yeah.
Oh, is okay.
It's maybe hidden a little bit. Sorry, and I moved it away. So this is our 618.
No, that's the 0.5, right?
Let me see where that's coming from. Okay, yeah. So it hits the 0.5.
Yeah.
The 0.5 is landing there, and then the 1 I think is matching up towards our higher. So 618 is kind of floating. I think that's why I have the 0.5 where it's kind of matching up perfectly. I think it would only come to that 0.5. And it is going to get cut short possibly because we're in this consolidation. So it's like going to force it to not extend fully. But if for some reason we do get our full extension, we do have it also lining up to the $1.65. Yeah. So resistance at pretty much either one of these for this wave 5 here, which I think is most likely going to be just here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a good 5 wave, and this is on the hourly. You guys can track this along with me. But like I said, immediately we're on this wave 4 coming down. That would still set up those highs in a little bit, but we have to come down from $1.41 to $1.43 before coming back up for that wave 5.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying too, Tar?
Yeah, on Bitcoin, I haven't really looked at XRP yet. I do think that Bitcoin has a little bit more to go up. But I don't see a 5 wave. I don't see a 5 wave, but really, or even like here, I know it's fibbing out nicely, but during a consolidation pattern, we really shouldn't see any typical 5 wave structure or any common patterns. And I know it's been a mess almost this entire time. So
yeah, it's hard to see, but since it is kind of printing out right now, okay, I'm just kind of rolling with the pattern that we have.
Yeah.
We have seen back in the previous waves, we have an ABC here that didn't really finish off. And that kind of set the top of our trend line. And then this ABC was like pretty perfect right away. I do think it is weird to have an impulse right here at the end. But I'm just kind of taking it with what we got because we did get that perfect 1.618 where like a normal ABC would only come to the 1 extension or the 1.236.
Yeah.
We are reaching a 1.618, which kind of plots out an impulse a little bit better.
Yeah. And like you said, either way, we're heading into resistance and we haven't flipped that yet. So that's the key. That's definitely what to watch out for. If
we do start to get heavy momentum come in, which we haven't seen yet, we can actually see in this last previous high that we're creating a little bit of a bearish divergence on the 1 hour. So we have our price coming up for a new high, but our RSI has not. Our RSI has that bearish divergence between the two highs. So we don't have a whole lot of strength coming into the market right now. But if for some reason we get sudden strength come in, and we're starting to break $1.65 and turning it to support, I think we would head up towards $1.78 or $1.77, which are these areas right here. And then that would set up the time for that to come back as support. So I would never chase the breakout of the resistance up here. So I would wait for it to come back and flip to support because this is such a major level that we've resisted for months. It will need the market to flip it as support. So never really chase that breakout trend, wait for it to come back And like I said, flip to support.
So if you think that it does flip, if it does slip to support, do you think it's still on wave 3? Or like, will you be tracking a wave 3 at that time?
You mean on the wave 3, that new trend wave 3?
Or just the macro wave 3? Do you think that it would have a chance to move on to that? Yeah, if it's
I think it could, because a wave 5 can fail. We can fail that wave 5, but failure wouldn't come unless we break above $2. So this is official invalidation of that final wave down. You can see that's where wave 1 comes down into. So technically this wave 4 can come all the way up to there and still come down to lower supports. But without breaking up above this high that we have here, it's setting up these lower supports perfectly. So I think it is unlikely that we do start that invalidation before coming down to the 786 and the 854 down here. And just this pattern that's played out and kind of ranging below resistance is just making me believe that this is a wave 4 even more, because we're not seeing that impulsive new trend. We're really struggling at the first resistance, which is this major 618 here. So it's not like we're carrying on this new trend where past resistances are getting broken. We're heavily stuck under resistance right now.
I'm curious if we can go out to the higher time frames and look at the RSI, or see from like those high, like maybe weekly, and I guess maybe not daily, but maybe weekly and higher, to see what the strength is looking like there. I'm really curious.
On this new trend here? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so even on, this is the hourly exhaustion that we're seeing here. Mm-hmm. And then you wanted to kind of get a little bit more zoomed out, right? Yeah. Like, look how perfect this is. This is definitely resistance, and forming like a consolidation.
At 153, yeah. Or the top, yeah.
Okay, so this is the 4 hour, and we definitely are seeing exhaustion here as well. So from 1 hour up to 4 hour, we're still exhausted. Let me zoom in just a bit. So there's our exhaustion, our price high above that. I think this is the 6.5 on Binance. So that's that 6.5 major retracement, and it broke it in price, but our RSI did not. Our strength is really low. We're not seeing a good breakout momentum here. So that's from 1 hour to 4 hour, and then let's just continue to move up. Yeah. Daily is still okay. Here's daily. So we have our bearish diversion printed from small time frames up to about 4 hour.
Yeah.
And that might come in a little bit stronger once we get our wave 5 top, because we might have to close down towards those wave 4 subwaves between like $1.41 to $1.43, like today, close on the daily, and then price would come up and kind of form like that daily top. But it is really hard to get a divergence printed on the daily. It doesn't necessarily need, or we don't necessarily need the print on the daily for it to kind of confirm its resistance. So like we can see even over here, this definitely did. Over here, this higher time frame like really didn't have a bearish top. And then now we're in this major correction. Look how low that wave 3 is. So this is the daily time frame. This is extreme sell strength. Normally we would not turn the market over to a new trend on that low. I know you know, Tar, but this is just really what's making me believe that we still need to come down towards these lower prices over here before we start to take off. And then, like I said, the price action that's happened after that wave 3 is just still looking like a classic wave 4. This heavy ranging under resistance is what we would expect from a wave 4. And then definitely as we start to zoom in, it's creating that consolidation pattern, especially if we come up perfectly for this last little impulse. I have measured up to $1.53. I think that's just going to put like the nail in the coffin. And we should have a very strong resistance from there.
Do you want to go to the weekly a sec? I want to see if something was just flipped. I want to look at the RSI. Yeah, okay. So it does look like it just flipped the MA on the RSI. Because impulsiveness is coming from somewhere, and I think it's this weekly RSI. How it just flipped right above the MA there. It looks like it has 2 days left. So I'm wondering if it could continue like that reaction from flipping the MA like this for 2 days and then come down to test the MA on the RSI on the weekly after 2 days. So
you're saying kind of hold this divergence that we would start to print like this. And then when price comes down to our lower supports, then just still meet this trend line on the RSI.
Probably. But do you see how this is the first time the RSI flipped the MA since the correction? So there's something that has triggered this. Why is it
2
feeling
days
impulsive?
left. We could turn back around.
Yeah. So
in the next 2 days.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's going to be bullish or, stay around these levels, like you said, maybe to 153, but then come down just in time for that candle to meet the MA on the RSI. So in around 2 days, yeah.
Yeah. So it has 2 days. And I really don't think that this is going to hold like a lot of weight. Even if it doesn't happen in 2 days, I still think as long as we're under that $1.65, that we would come to our lower supports before breaking up any higher. But I did give that other alternative scenario that if for some reason we get random strength in the market, it would come up to probably $1.78, and then that would be our chance to buy $1.65 as support. But yeah, nothing is really leaning towards that happening right now, especially with what we're seeing in the pattern and our RSI.
And we don't really want to chase the market. We want it to flip that to support first. And then, as long as we are under the support right now, buys are more risky. So when it does flip to support, then after that, then that's when a lot of risk is taken out. So,
well, in general, it's risky buying under resistance like this.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people ended up buying this pump here, but it's going to be short-lived. And like I said, probably coming down to $1.41 to $1.43 before just making that slight new high. I would definitely be looking to get out of any kind of long around $1.53. Even if we come up to $1.65, that would be resistance as long as we follow this pattern here. So, yeah.
All right, let's take a...
I feel like we brought the worst news where everyone...
I know, we always do.
I know, everyone's wanting this to be a breakout.
Well, I want to be bullish too. I want to flip bullish too.
No one wants to be more bullish than me. So I want it to, but I'm also, I'm not convinced
that, exactly. I'm not convinced that this is the new trend yet. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to flip to Bitcoin then so we can see what it's looking like there.
Okay, are you going to start on the macro then and then zoom in?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll flip over to you.
Yeah, so here, so the daily's pretty good right now. So here is Bitcoin on the daily on Binance. These are our macro supports that Bitcoin is using right now. We have these measured from the all-time high to basically the all-time low. And that's what makes these levels here our most significant support levels. So here's that all-time high there at around 126. And we've been tracking this correction ever since coming down. So currently we are in between the macro 382 and that 0.5 retrace of basically the entire market on Bitcoin. So very significant levels where we've been ranging so far. So on the last drop there, you can see it broke down through that macro support and has been just hovering and ranging above it since. And with this most recent push right now, we're coming right up to that 382, which was macro support, but you can see it's going to be resistance. So from that wave B here, we either have this as a wave B or wave 4, and I can label that in a second, but it's still undecided if this was wave 4 or wave B. So coming down, we're going to be tracking wave C or a fifth wave. Both will be a 5-wave structure. And so right now it's looking like it is incomplete. So you can see during that wave from the top here, it broke down through the 382 support, and it hasn't come up and tested it as resistance yet. So the fact that we're coming up right now, this is going to be that first test of this macro level as resistance. So this is at 79,003. So on this push up here, this is what we're looking like. We're going to come up and hit that as resistance. So as long as we are under this level here at 79.3 or even as high as 80,000, I deleted a lot of fibs. And I don't know, Cass, you didn't comment on how clean my chart was. It
is very clean.
I deleted almost all my fibs. I'm like, don't need that one. It felt like spring cleaning. But yeah, so, and now I'm missing them. So there is a fib right above this level here at 79,000. That's around 80,000, which is very significant. So on this push up here, we could come as high as 80,000. 79.9, and then you can see the macro level 79.3. So we're heading into strong resistance. So as long as we are under this level, we still have these lower levels that are likely and possible. The reason why we say likely is because, as Cassie showed on XRP, you can see just this strength on the RSI here. When it broke through this macro support, usually markets do not pivot on such a bearish RSI is telling the market makers that there is more liquidity down below. So as long as we are under these levels here, we're still hoping that we can come down and pick up support before we head back up. So what I'm watching out for on these lower time frames, actually I'm going to go into the lower time frames and show what it's looking like on this most recent impulse. And then I'm going to zoom back out and show you guys how that is going to affect these midterm targets. So let's head into
when you're sick, you're so serious.
I know. I'm almost trying to not get lightheaded. Honestly, I'm pushing through it.
I'm so sorry you don't feel good.
No, I know. It's fine. It's fine. Usually I'm a champ through these sicknesses, but I don't know. This one's taking a toll. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. And I don't know if it's just me, but I'm literally sweating. It's not even that hot in here. I'm sweating. So
it's you. You probably have a fever.
Yeah, I do. I know I do. Oh, oops. Wait. Okay. So
I still see you.
Okay.
I still see your screen.
I was trying to, what the heck? I was just trying to rescale my, okay, there we go. Okay, so here we are.
Okay, so Tart, to reiterate kind of what you're seeing this coming up to resistance on Bitcoin somewhere between that 79,000 and then 80,000, right? Because I know other exchanges are kind of in the low 79,000, even a tiny bit lower. But then on this one is a little bit more extreme up towards 80. So that's kind of the difference we're seeing. But it's the same resistance high that we're seeing on XRP. So right when we see XRP coming towards $1.53, possibly $1.65, which I think is unlikely. But it would be about the same time when Bitcoin reaches these prices and sees its next resistance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Like I said, I love when they match up like this.
I know. Me too. It's nice. Okay, so here is that flush that we had. That was that very bearish drop, and we've been tracking this as a wave 4 since. This, you can see it already reached that 0.5 level at 75.4, and it just recently broke above it. So we would be using these same fib sets, and this is one of the fibs that I did delete that we really need to pay close attention to this. You see it's lining right up to that macro 382 as well. So this is the next level of resistance heading right up to that macro level. It's just there's a lot of resistance coming in at that level. We need to just be careful with longs here. So just be careful with longs. Like we said, we're not convinced that this has moved on to a new trend yet. So we're coming under very heavy resistance. It broke down through the support, and this is that first test of resistance there. So definitely this lower level here at 50,000 is still valid before it comes back up. So we just have to watch this carefully. On even lower time frames down to the 1 hour, you can see we're getting some type of exhaustion in this high here. So it's very hard to pull out just a typical 5-wave structure out of this. But what I would say, is this fib retracement coming from here down to this low here. These are going to be the supports when it starts to head down. And so it's looking like this could come down still and test that 0.5 again, or even as low as 73.5 before it comes back up. So we're going to watch this top here. If it goes up right now, you can see the RSI doesn't have a very clear top on it. So it's looking like it should come down and reset the RSI, bring it down a little bit, and then have one more test or attempt right back up to that 382 level. So I want to get the wave 3 measurement put on here. I'm trying to find where the wave 3 was.
Bitcoin is its exhaustion in the RSI with all of these highs isn't as clear as XRP, but it's kind of like all in that same high. Like it's not really creating lower highs too much, but it's all kind of getting capped at the same RSI height, which is still pretty much a bearish divergence where we're not seeing it come up higher with price. So it is a little bit more unclear on Bitcoin than XRP, but still definitely there with our bearish momentum coming in.
And there's not forming
exhaustion.
Yeah, there's exhaustion, and it's not forming like a textbook impulse. Like I said, it's hard to pull an impulse out of this, but we are looking like it should come down to bring down the RSI and then come back up. It doesn't have a top yet. It does have a small top. You can see it's a little bit of a bearish divergence, but we'd like to see it a lot stronger, and we would like it to test that resistance there so it can move on. So I'm going to zoom out to back to the daily. Okay, so here on the daily, I just wanted to point out that if it does flip above the 79,300, like we just showed you, it's going to have a hard time flipping above this macro level. But if it does, and out of somewhere get some strength to flip it and then come back down on top of this as support, we're looking at very heavy resistances coming up. So if you can imagine here on this macro level that this retrace has only reached a 0.5 retrace. So it doesn't have a lot of momentum for the extension going back up from these levels here. So coming back up, we're either tracking this as a wave B going up, or we're tracking it as a wave 5. Wave B is most likely if it does not, or if it can break above the 79,000 now, we're looking at heavy resistance here at 93,000. So the implications are if that it does come back up above these macro levels, it really is not going to go that far, unfortunately. So so we have to watch these levels closely. This is why we've been saying for so many of these live streams that really we want Bitcoin to come down and pick up this 618 support here, or lower supports, so that we have enough momentum and support to break up higher than this 93,000. So if it does break up, we're only looking at a wave up to 93,000. And then after that, that's when it would probably come down to reach that 50,000 or even lower. So that's the implications of where we are right now in the market. That's really, that's why this is such a critical time on Bitcoin, because these next levels that are reached are really going to be that defining moment in what happens mid to long term. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit even more just to show one more thing. So you can see from this was the 2022 correction. From that high there, you can see this retrace reached a 786 retrace. So that's why the wave after was able to push all the way to the 1618 extension. So you can see right now we're only at the macro 0.5 retrace. So the extension that comes after this is not going to be the 1618 extension. It's going to be most likely this resistance here, or the 618 extension, which is a double top.
Can you talk? Oh, double top. I was going to say, what is that 618?
It's right up here at it's at 135 right now with this current low.
Okay.
So
that's the big difference in us trying to take off for a wave 5 off this 0.5 macro support, is that it wouldn't have a whole lot of strength coming up, and we would only be able to target about $1.35, 135,000. But if we do come down to that 50,000 area, the major 618 on Bitcoin, it would give it a lot of momentum to kick off into a new trend, which could bring it as high as 230,000 to 240,000. So that is really the difference in these plans here. And I think that coming up for B to 93,000 is less likely. I almost feel like we're either coming down to that 618 at 50,000 and kicking off, or we're just going to come up for our wave 5 off of this weird low that we already have. Because that would just extend the correction in timing like quite a bit, but it is technically still valid. So I do appreciate you saying it every single time.
I have to.
It is still valid that we come up to 93,000 and then back down to 30,000.
And so I just want to point out here on the weekly, so this is the reaction that we're getting from this cross here on the MA, on the RSI, on the weekly. So that's why this is looking a little more bullish, is that it had momentum to break above the MA on the RSI. So from our last all-time high there, this is that first time it was able to break above the MA resistance on the RSI. So this is looking like, it's looking like it has more momentum than we've seen since this, in this entire correction, which is something to note. Here on the price MA, you can see it just broke above the price MA as well, which is also the first time we've been able to break above the price MA. So we're going to watch this closely. Like we said, we have around 2 days left of this weekly candle. What could happen is that it could stay up at these levels and reach our resistance and drop the entire candle down right back to the MA, down to support or resistance. So this could be what is fueling the impulsiveness right now, but it is a false breakout as long as it, if it has time to come down in 2 days to come right back down to support. So if this can hold for longer than 2 days, then it will print this bullish cross here above the RSI and then above the price MA as well. So we'll watch that closely as this develops. So and I just want to measure this out as well. So if we are going to be breaking up above that 79.3 and coming up to this 0.5 level, if we are on wave B, I should say, it's going to be very difficult to track really any waves out of this, because wave B can take any type of structure that it wants, and it also can turn very complex. So the fact that we're not seeing really any typical wave structure in this could be an indication that this is a corrective move and not a new trend like we would want to see. So I'm going to measure out the wave C if this reaches just perfect levels. So we have this as a wave A, and then if it breaks above the 79,000, we'd be coming up to that resistance there at 93. This is why I'm saying after 93, if it can't break it, after that's when it's going to come down and tag the 50,000 support. And then you can see it can even come as low as that 786 support down below afterwards. So this is
what's that price?
At 27,000. So, well, the 786 is 29,000. The 1-to-1 is 27, so it's probably likely that it's going to come up just a little bit above this, maybe a wick, if it is on that B. Yeah. So that's what we're going to be watching, and that's really the implications of why, or what happens right now is going to determine that midterm bearish correction, because that's going to extend the correction obviously much deeper in price, but much longer in time as well. So we're going to be watching this closely as it develops. Right now, it's in between both scenarios, so it still hasn't really made any decisive move as long as we are below this 382 and above this 0.5. So as long as we are within this channel here, both that bullish scenario and the bearish one that I just showed you are still pretty much 50-50 in play at this time.
Well, there's 3 scenarios, right? We're either holding that 0.5 as A, coming up to 93,000 as B, and then 30,000 as C. Or, so that's that one scenario. Scenario 2 would be A is all it needs in this correction, and we take off for wave 5, which is like at 135,000.
Yeah.
So that would be weird because we don't really have a good corrective pattern, but we have seen it in the past on Bitcoin where its corrections were like a weird impulse down and it kind of just took off to new highs.
Yeah.
So
the last wave 4 did the
so
exact
that's
same
the
thing.
second scenario.
Yeah.
And then the third scenario, which I think is more likely, is that we come down towards the 50,000 and complete a C wave down there to 618. And then that would take off into a large wave 3 towards like 230 or 240,000.
Yep. Yeah. And so this is the most bullish scenario on Bitcoin right now, is what Cassie just showed with us in a wave C currently. So for Bitcoin to be on wave 3 next, this is really the path that it would have to take, is that resistance there up at wave B. Like I mentioned earlier, it still is undetermined if this is B or wave 4. They both have the same levels so far, or I did print the same levels. So this is either wave B or 4, and then we'd be tracking a 5-wave structure coming down for C or wave 5. Wave C has a 1-to-1 fib exactly at the 618 here. So that's why it still is undecided if this is a full ABC correction done here at 50,000, or if we're going to be extending this correction much longer in time and in price. And I'm going to pull that wave C target just one more time. It was deleted. And so this is what it's looking like. This is that bullish scenario here at 53. It's 52.2 on a lot of, or most exchanges. So this is that most bullish scenario. So the reason being is because we want Bitcoin, while we're this low into these retracements, we want it to come pick up more support so that it can push to just longer extensions afterwards, and higher extensions for sure. So if it breaks up above this 382, it doesn't look like it's going to have the chance to go much higher, up to 93 and then down after that. So we're going to be watching this closely for sure when it comes up to that 79,000 and see how it's reacting there, and then continue to watch this further as it develops. This from wave B down to wave C, like we said, it's a 5-wave structure, and we don't have a full 5 waves yet. We know that wave 3 is usually the most extreme on the RSI, and that's when we got that big flush down. So we're still assuming that this was our wave 3 and we're in wave 4, which has not been invalid yet. So again, that's just pointing to more resistance coming up in our short-term future. And then we have that one more extension still, thankfully that it's still likely to come. And so once that gets invalidated, then like I said, that was our bullish scenario. So once that gets invalidated, then we're looking for this correction to take much longer in price and in time.
If that gets invalidated.
Yeah. So yeah, there's the good news that I have. We, like Cassie, we've mentioned so many times that we are so desensitized to like this movement. We don't bring in a lot of emotion. It's like when people get super excited like this, it's always us that are like, don't get too excited about the market or what's going on. But yeah,
people always get emotional at green candles.
Yeah,
we have to wait for the structure to confirm before we start to get excited. And the structure is still looking like we'll see resistance soon. So nothing to get too excited about, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and like I said, I of all people want this to be bullish and not a new trend. Like I'm trying to get a dream home, dream house here. I want this to take off.
I was trying to find, I mean, like I said, even if Bitcoin is on a new trend from the low here, we're still going to be hitting the 93,000 resistance and then that double top basically. So, I mean, I know it's quite a bit, it's almost double where it is now, but it's still, it would be a lot more bullish if it could come down to that 618, because then the 1618 would be the target instead of just the 618. So, but yeah, so that's what we're going to be continuing to.
Yeah, I think we can flip over into some altcoins now. So let us know in the chats what altcoins you want to look through. I'm just going to go through the normal watch list until you guys say something. But what's interesting is the last few live streams, we've been really showing how altcoins are pretty much at a bottom. And what this recent momentum has done is kind of pulled them off of their bottom a little bit. so that even if Bitcoin and XRP kind of come down for new, fresh lows, it doesn't necessarily mean that altcoins will follow. So I think that that's really interesting, is that for a while we're like, these can't really come down any further, even though we always say that and get burned. But for a while they were looking like they were just at a bottom and kind of holding it. So it is good that those have kind of had a chance to come up now and breathe a little bit before we get this next low on Bitcoin and XRP. So let's take a look at some of those, and then we'll come back to do a quick recap of XRP and Bitcoin before we head out.
Okay.
So
if you guys have any altcoins, make sure to put them in the chat, and then we can try to fit them in.
Yeah, so we're getting some. We have XDC, HBAR, GRT. Tara, let me know if you have any. Sui, Solana. Take a look at some of those, and then I'll just do them on my chart then, and we'll go through our list. Okay, so GRT, it is coming up a little bit in the recent days, so that is good news. Let me zoom out just a tiny bit. It hasn't really taken off like we've seen some of the other altcoins, but this is the all-time low here. And this is kind of the last little movement that we've seen. We haven't really even had the strength to break above the 118 retracement, which is the first retracement here. So we haven't broken past resistance yet. Still a good time to be buying in on GRT, especially for spot, because you can see that we're just kind of trying to hold a good base here. And this really should start to print a new trend here soon. So I'm still expecting big things out of GRT, and we haven't really seen good signs of it yet. So that just means that there's still time to be getting in.
Yeah. And once it does flip the 118 is when it's going to get very exciting.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, I swear once this starts to take off, people are going to be like, I wish I got in on that at 2.5 cents.
Yeah.
So this is a really good one. If we zoom out a little bit, even on this time frame, our first retracement level is at 35 cents. So there is a ton of room from where we are now up to even that first 118 macro retracement at 35 cents. Like a ton of opportunity. I think this is one of the highest opportunities that I'm comfortable getting in on. I know that there's other meme coins, but and I wouldn't even call this a meme coin. Like, I didn't want to offend it. Don't want to offend anyone, but there is a purpose here with this coin. And then when I zoom out here on the daily, it kind of shows the whole breadth of opportunity here. Most altcoins that have a promising project should really start to take off to new all-time highs. So we're just going to have to track as it starts developing. But even on GRT's first retracement levels, it's incredible opportunity from where we are at now. So like I said, that first 118 at 35 cents, that's the first potential resistance as it starts to build out its new trend. But since that level's been tested a few different times, in my opinion, at first, our first trend should come up and break or at least come up to test the next resistance level. So that is around 69 cents. So that's the level there. I think that's incredible opportunity from the 2.5 cents that we are at right now. So that is why, like I said, I'm betting the farm on GRT. So this is my favorite one here. And like we saw when we zoomed in, not a whole lot is happening. Like in the last few days, it is kind of forming a little bit of a base. So we should start to see that trend line or that new trend kind of come up. For trading GRT, I don't think it's safe until we kind of break above the 618 here, which is just under 6 cents. So that's still 2 times the price right now before we hit resistance. So I can't say enough about how good GRT is looking for an opportunity here. Okay, so let's move on here a little bit. And we have Algo.
Sorry, I keep coughing.
It's okay. Let's move on. So Algo's the next in my watch list here. And okay, let's zoom in just a little bit. This is the all-time low on Algo. It did make a new all-time low, like a lot of them did. And we're looking for just a good solid trend to build from that low. So you can see we definitely took off. Our RSI came up pretty high. This is on the 4-hour. It is possible that this is that new trend we're looking for. This first new trend off the low should form wave 1 of a new trend. So we're just kind of waiting on this to develop and get some subwaves printed before we start to future map what this first wave is looking like in the larger market cycle. This could definitely be our wave 3 up here. Remember that wave 3s are typically the most obvious part of the market cycle, and then 4 and 5 after that, and then obviously 2 and 1 before that is where we would kind of map this out. So we're just kind of waiting on this finishing up here. Let me zoom in or extend it with time a little bit. So this is the 0.5 retracement. This could be where wave 4 is targeting, and most likely kind of consolidating out from there. If for some reason algo is able to come down towards like the 9 cent area, this fib here, then we could start to look at this being more of like the wave 2 of wave 1. So we're just kind of waiting on a little bit more development so it gets a lot more clear of where we're at. But a lot of good momentum coming in off that all-time low on algo.
Is that 618 for the 5th, or was that for the last high?
That was for the last high. So it came up to the 0.5 extension. And that is for this low. So yeah, it's kind of hard to know that if this reached like it's wave 5 already, because that can kind of count out a 5. And this is wave 4, and it could come up to like a double top. Yeah. Or if we start to come down lower, I'm going to focus this more on being a wave 2 and kind of print out a wave 3 from there. Yeah. So like I said, I think we just really need some more waves to print out here on algo so we can get a good plan. But this is kind of what we're expecting on all of the smaller cap coins, is that we get a good strong trend and we can count out some subwaves, and then we'll start to future map them. So once we're at that point of being able to future map the coins, you guys will definitely see what those are looking like, or what we think as, kind of in more the longer term. Because it's going to be really hard to know for wave 1 where we're heading, because wave 1 doesn't have a whole lot of rules for Elliott wave theory. It kind of just sets the proportions for all the rest of the waves. So we kind of just have to let this play out and kind of reveal itself a little bit more with time, and then we'll get future mapped on where this could go. So that's algo. This is a really good sign, though, that we're getting this type of momentum off the all-time low. So very similar to what I would expect to see across altcoins, really across all of them. And this is, if you kind of look and think of this as GRT here and just where it was at, this is really what we're expecting coming up from here. So for algo, let me zoom out a little bit. Since we set a new all-time low, we can't use an extension for our target for algo because we don't have that extension yet. But I could zoom out. This is similar to what we were just seeing over on GRT, where I'm zooming out and really only focused on the retracements for now, the previous retracements, because I think that'll help us get a little bit of an idea, but nothing's going to be as accurate as getting the current wave and then future mapping it out once we have some more development. But here on algo, we've already had 65 cents tested as resistance. So very similar to GRT, we at least can expect the next resistance to be tested. So that's right around $1. We'll kind of see where this first wave comes up and where we can reach. But our next major resistance is at $1 to $1.10. This could be where our wave 1 kind of breaks out into. So that's kind of where I'm looking at for a lot of these. We don't have a whole lot of development to be able to go off of yet. But then again, these altcoins, the strong projects, especially algo, should start to make new all-time highs eventually. So even if we do come up to that $1, that most likely will probably be only wave 1 of a new trend. So just kind of taking that as it goes. Well, I think the major trend across all of these altcoins is this is such a good buying opportunity. So there really isn't a whole lot of trend after that, but I would not let this lull time distract you from the type of prices we're seeing right now, because it could get exciting really fast. So we want to, while it's nice and steady here, be buying in, especially spot holdings. A lot of them aren't really at a point to be trading like for leverage, but spot buying and accumulating, it's a very good time for that. And Tara and I will never give advice for something that we aren't doing ourselves. So I know that both of us have been in and buying altcoins, and I think I have been more than you, Tara. But I'm just saying that if we're doing it, we are going to let you guys know. And if there's something we would not buy, then we will let you know. Okay, so here, that was algo. Not a whole lot to be said on that. Just waiting for more development off of that all-time low. H-bar is one of the ones that did not make a new low. And I believe it ended up holding that 854 retracement that we've been. Okay, so we've talked about this in a few live streams, a lot of live streams all the way back to the beginning of February. We were thinking that it was going to hold this 854 retracement level here. This is usually like the last support level before we start to come down to double bottoms. But at the time that we were coming here, other altcoins were seeing new all-time lows and H-bar really wasn't. So H-bar held really well. H-bar is one of the only ones that we did not make a new low and can kind of place now extensions above in our mapping. So using the low that we have here, I think I need to get zoomed out just a little bit more. We're using that as our wave 2 low. So this is our wave 2 low down here to 854. And then we would be expecting a wave 3 up from there. You okay, Tar?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I keep having to mute myself because I'm literally coughing nonstop.
Okay, so this is our wave 2, and then we would come up for our wave 3. So prices up above are looking at like $1 to $1.40 on H-bar. Those are pretty conservative targets, but it will make new all-time highs with that. And those are textbook targets we have from our wave, our 1618, 2618, and 3618. So that's kind of what we're expecting. Like I said, H-bar is one of the only ones that didn't make a new low.
Yeah.
So we're able to future map this out here nice and clean. So expecting a really large trend off of this low that we have here on H-bar. It's held pretty nicely so far. We could even come up to that, what is that, 11.5 resistance here, and then kind of play around here until we really start to kick off, kind of matching with the same timing with Bitcoin coming up to its new trend and XRP. I'm expecting all of those at the same time. But there is a chance that altcoins kind of take off before Bitcoin and XRP do as well. So we've already reached significant levels here. And then on H-bar, you can see how we had that major flush in October here, and price action came all the way back down to fuel up that wick. That's really what we're expecting on Binance and XRP, is where we had that huge wick down to 78 cents. We're expecting our price action very similar to what we're seeing here on H-bar, coming back down to fill the wick. So this is good. I think H-bar is like textbook on its charts right now. So that one is looking fine. Let's keep going. Flare, we've had a few requests for Flare. So stepping back to this time frame, you can really see how Flare was stuck in this consolidation for a really long time. And then we've had just really bearish momentum off of that, but recently starting to uptick a little bit. And it was slightly a new all-time low. So we do have to restart our count on the way up, but look at our RSI here on this daily time frame. This is showing that a good momentum is coming through. So unlike what we're seeing over on Bitcoin and XRP, where we're hitting a lot of exhaustion, some of these coins that made a new all-time low are really starting to kick off of that momentum. And Flare is definitely one of them. What's hard is that we can't get a good retracement an extension level off Flare, because this is going to be a whole new trend for Flare. So once we start to get a little bit more subwaves printed, we're going to get it future mapped. But right now, just still overall, a really good time to be getting in on Flare. So yeah, we are still heavily below, or not heavily, but definitely below our 118 retracement, which is the first retracement level. So good time to be getting in on Flare and just getting fueled up for the next major trend that is about to come.
So do you think that the new trend, or do you think the highs are going to come this year for these altcoins, or how long do you think it's going to take?
Like new all-time highs or new trend highs?
Or target highs.
Yeah. It's hard because like on GRT, that 69 cents is just one of the first retracement levels.
Yeah.
I definitely think we could see close to that in the first retracements. For new all-time highs, like an algo above 280. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but with all of these, this new trend should be very strong. So it's hard for me to get timing and comment on timing. And then we have H bar that's in a little bit different situation where this would be a wave 3 up, breaking to new highs. And that really is the next wave that we would be on. So that's in a little bit different of a market position than some of these others that have made new all-time lows and would have to print in a wave 1, a wave 2, and then a wave 3. Yeah, so kind of the only thing that's really matching up as far as all of the altcoins is that we've reached significant lows, significant support, even at H bar and the ones that made a new all-time low. So it's just overall a really good time to be continuing to accumulate on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we really can't be sure. And maybe once we can get our future waves kind of mapped out, it will help us get a little bit of timing. But I think people are going to be blown away with where Flare does end up. Because it's kind of just been consolidating and crunched down really its entire life cycle. It hasn't had a chance to kind of show off and print and get that price discovery like some of the other coins already have had a chance to do. So I think Flare is a really good one to be getting in on. And really all the ones that we're going through are ones that I think are very strong so far. All the ones that we've looked at so far are really good ones.
Yeah.
No, I like I was saying kind of earlier, even if Bitcoin and XRP come down for a new low, that doesn't necessarily mean that altcoins like Flare, GRT, Algo, those may not make a new low. H bar, every coin should be looked at individually to their own chart. And we're seeing significant support, especially in H bar. That was a significant level that it held for months now. A lot of this momentum with Bitcoin coming up to that 79,000 could bring a lot of these altcoins up so that the next low doesn't impact them so much. And they don't necessarily need to make a new low, even if Bitcoin and XRP do. So yeah, we need to look at all of them individually. And I think that really the only one that's really clear is H bar because it held that 854. These other ones that have made a new all-time low, it's difficult because there really is nothing below an all-time low. Like it's hard to get a support level below all-time low. But the one that's really clear is H bar because it did not, and it's kind of held that 854 support. So we could start to see these really kick off into a beginning of a trend from the lows. Okay, so Flare is looking good and H bar. But let's continue on. Some of these other ones that were requested. We can look at Sui. I know that we have that somewhere in here. Okay. Let me zoom in just a little bit. This one, Sui has not made new all-time lows. It's in a very significant correction. Let me just zoom, and you can kind of see what it looks like on the daily here, like how much from all-time high we've corrected. This is the ABC for the correction, and we pretty much have fueled the wick. So this is what we're expecting on XRP, coming down to fuel the wick. This pretty much has most of the way, but as I zoom in on that C wave, there is a tiny bit of room that it could still come down towards that target. So that is 73 cents there. It got really close, so it's hard to know if it will come back all the way down perfectly to that target. But we're below the 854 retracement. So that means we've corrected 85% from all-time high. So that's just a significant level in itself. And some of these smaller cap coins may not conform as well to Elliott wave theory or fibs like some of the larger markets will. So I just think overall, this is probably a good time to be getting in and building a position on SUI. I don't have any SUI and don't know much about the project. And I don't even know if that's how you say it. I'm just assuming that it's named SUI.
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 We have other requests coming in. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I just think pretty much the C is almost done, if not already done. And since we're below the 854 retracement, it's a good time just overall to be buying in. And you're at least not buying all-time high, and you're not buying B. And the waves are pretty clear to me. Like, this definitely looks like our A. We have a good corrective pattern for B, and then this looks like an impulse for C. So overall, the pattern is good, and we're ending near around C. And it won't be clear until we start to take off for that new trend. And I think I do have our new trend. So we have our new trend here, which the prices are all cut off. But our first extension would be $8.50, and then 13.5. So pretty good extensions coming up there from these overall lows. The first conservative target is $8.50. And at the dollar right now, that's a pretty good return. A lot of these smaller cap coins could definitely hit more extensions and higher extensions than XRP and Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin and XRP, we would expect to only have like those textbook extensions, the 1618 or 2618, maybe even 3618. But these smaller cap coins, it's definitely common for them to extend even further and be a little bit more exaggerated. So we could see 4618, 5618, 6618 on some of these smaller coins. And I don't want to offend anyone by saying like something's like a meme coin or like small cap, but I'm just trying to be honest and give my honest opinion, I guess. Okay, so I think that is SUI. What is interesting is look how low this was here in selling.
Yeah, it looks like it still has
come down to that 73 cents. This is where that C wave is targeting, this one extension. It got really close in that drop. So we'll kind of see if it comes down perfectly to that or not. The upper resistance on SUI is at $1.12. So we could just kind of tag that before, coming down to that C. We'll just have to see and wait. Okay, so that's SUI.
Yeah.
You said you were getting some more requests, Tara?
Well, we have a few that we
haven't.
Total
request live.
XLM, Velo, WLFI. Those are the three that I've seen so far, and Ethereum, and ZBCN. Now you're going through, it's like, oh yeah, there was that.
Okay, so here's XLM. Let's look at what XLM is doing. We haven't looked at it in a while. Okay, so the pattern, I do not like the pattern on XLM. It really bothers me. Like, we're not seeing a whole lot of expansion in this market. So it's corrected to a major level here. And let me get zoomed in. This is the 854. So again, 85% below all-time high. But it is forming a little bit of a base. So pretty good base. And it's retraced all of the wick from October. So we really could have scooped up enough of our liquidity here on XLM right at this level. So we have, oops. I know Tara was always saying, like, if I know you're going to be laughing when I say that.
It's okay. It's fine.
Okay, I'm not even going to mention it. But this 854 support is at 15 cents, so 15.5 cents. And then resistance above is 19 cents. So kind of stuck between there. We could come up to the 19 and still come down and kind of play around. until it really starts to kick off with the rest of the market. But this did not make a new low. So if we're able to get our extensions above, the most conservative extension is at 70 cents on XLM. And I feel like I'm going to be like stoned, tarred, and like feathered for saying 70 cents. But that is the most conservative extension. And I don't like this price action.
It's because of that price action.
Yeah, it's because of this price action where we can really only conservatively expect a wave 5 out of here. And the 618 doesn't even make a new high. So this is going for an extension already. But then if we do start to get more bullish, we have $1.05. That would be our first extension coming up there, up towards $1.60. So we'll kind of see how this new trend plays out, and we'll get that mapped out once we can. But like you're saying, it's this price action that is kind of bringing down our extensions and revealing that 70 cents could really be it. But we'll kind of see how this plays out.
Once it starts, then we'll be able to track it. But before it starts, that's why we have those targets.
It's hard right now to know before we get that trend built where it could be targeting, because a wave 3 and new trend can really target anywhere until it gets exhausted. It's the subwaves of that are going to help us pinpoint one of these. But what we are seeing right now overall is a good sign of support down towards this level here. We could really take off from these lows. And we really shouldn't go much lower than we have, because we've already broken the 854 and held for quite a while. All year long, we've been holding this. So I think it's looking good. And this is what we would want to see kind of in a base being built. Probably is just waiting for the rest of the market to take off into its new trend, is what I'm assuming. Okay, so there's that one. XLM. Let's look at XDC. A few people are requesting that. And I know we have that chart somewhere in here. Somewhere. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're seeing here. Let me get this scaled. Looks kind of similar to XLM, right?
Yep.
Breaking below the 854 retracement, and our C wave is so low. I think, yeah, that C wave comes in at a new low. I don't know if it's going to go that low. So I'm just going to look over to our previous lows. A lot of times once we break below the 854 retracement, it would target a double bottom. But it is a pretty good like correction pattern. This would be C. And then even with our new lows here, like look at our RSI, it's trying to hold this. I wouldn't, like, I'm not going to put any faith on these waves. Look at it. We're basically not printing really strong waves or pattern in the entire chart here. So I think the only thing we could go off of now is that double bottom. So let me zoom in. Because like I said, this wave C is just too low. Like, this is making new all-time lows.
Wait, that's this. I was just going to tell you to put that one on. That's the C?
Yeah, that's the C.
Oh.
And that's at 2. Okay. Not even 2 cents. I'm saying, like,
that's at 2.
The next 2. 0.002.
Okay, so it's not...
let's look at the previous low. We can kind of see, like I was saying, this is coming to like a double bottom situation, at least with here. And then look at our RSI. It is trying to hold. Like if we marked this as our divergence, it's pretty much, it does have a little bit of a divergence. It's hard to say because like we're really below the 854.
So
this is kind of floating for fibs.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say it's in the middle of nowhere. It's not at any significant level right now.
Yeah, so the next thing I think we could call out is this price action here. Our previous low over here. If I can get to it. We could see that. Oh, it is coming down to the top of wave 1. We can see a tiny bit. It's hard to get both in the view, but this is our wave 1 over here. And then you can see over to the right that pretty much is testing that that high there. So our next levels, if we do make a new low, which it is showing signs that we could try to hold this as a bottom. Let's look at what these prices are over here. So it's trying to hold this high here. What's interesting is the market loves to do that, where it comes down and which was resistance gets flipped to support. So we really don't have a lot to go off with the XDC because the waves are really ugly and we're breaking below fibs, which is kind of expected on like a smaller cap coin, like for it to not conform real nicely, but just to do our best. The next support then would be about 2.5 cents. So 0.026. This is a very good level here. And we've already back tested it as support. So we could really hold this low that we're at right now, or that's already been tested as the low. Yeah, but we can just see on the chart here, like we don't have a whole lot to go off of. This isn't conforming too nicely.
It does look like a wave too, though.
Yeah. And it could come all the way down to a double bottom. It's trying to hold a bullish bottom a little bit. So then extensions above, let's get those. I haven't charted this in a long while. Okay, so I had it at the 618, which is like that textbook target, but we are breaking way low. So targets above are like 24 cents. I'm assuming that this one will, if it does start to kick off to a new trend, will heavily extend and kind of get to more extreme levels. So then 38 cents. We just skip above 3, apparently. Okay, so let me put in 3618. And then that's 51 cents. So we'll kind of see which extension it gets to once we start printing a new trend. It's hard to say if it's going to hold this or not. Like even over to the left, whenever it's kind of difficult, like if our pattern isn't printing out, our fib, it's like kind of floating in the middle of fibs. We always like to look more towards our left, like what has happened historically, because sometimes that can point us to where different significant levels in the market are. And we can see over here, this is a significant level where we're at. This used to be resistance and support. So we just need some signs of this kind of taking off from here. And like I said, throughout the next different live streams, we go live every single Friday. Once we start to get signs of our new trends printing out, we'll be able to future map this out. But right now we don't have anything to go off of, so we're not just gonna plot it for no reason. We need to see a new trend kind of building off of these lows on a lot of these coins. Similar to what Algo has done, like where it showed really strong momentum off the all-time low. We want to see some of these others follow suit like that.
I think we will. We can definitely see some altcoins take off for wave 3 before the rest of the market. What's next?
We can look at Sol or Solana. Not Solo. I think I had this zoom out as best we can. So some good waves printed here. This is definitely a wave 2 coming down from all-time high. Let me get some of this cleaned up here. Okay. I think that's clear. So I have my green marker here. This is where the textbook wave 2 would go. But if it does start to break down 618, you would expect the 786 and the 854, just like we're seeing over on XRP. But Sol's a little bit different because it perfectly came to that 786 already. So let me zoom in just a little bit. This is the larger 786 retracement. That is always a very good target if your 618 breaks. So this is a 78% correction from all-time high. We could start to kick off for a new trend off of this. kind of similar to what we're seeing on XRP, where that wave 3 coming down, the previous wave 3, and this was right around the same time with XRP. This was a very strong selling event. It created new lows on the RSI. Normally, we don't pivot into a new trend off of that. We would need to come back down and test it again, like a double bottom, or make slightly new lows. And we have some of those targets here. We have the $64, even as low as $54. So it could just double bottom or come to those new lows there before taking off. The only thing that's going to change that is a flip of resistance. So very similar to the strategy that we're talking about on XRP, where if some reason this can break $117, that would be a good sign that we don't need any lower supports. But this strong selling momentum right here, the price action afterwards, does lean more towards needing a double bottom or those slight new lows before taking off. So this is kind of one of the only ones that we've kind of gone through where it looks like we need a new low. So that's kind of interesting. We'll see where this takes off. It does actually look really similar to XRP, at least in this wave here, where this would be our wave 3 and 4, and we still need 5. So,
can you zoom out a little bit?
Yeah. So you can just see how significant that 618 was for us to break. It's going to be significant resistance if we come up to that. That price is 108 at the bottom and then up to 117. That's what that level is marking. It's the golden retracement, and we are currently below that right now. I do like to see how nicely that 786 was tagged.
I think your trend lines for your triangles throwing me off.
Yeah, it was before we had more development. I can delete it.
Because
this would be a
someone commented saying Solana's in a bull triangle. I don't see any triangle on Solana.
Bull triangle?
Mm-hmm. I don't see any triangle.
I mean, if there is any triangle, it's a bearish pennant. So
it doesn't look like a pennant either.
I mean, it's, I think, vaguely like this. Yeah, this isn't clear consolidation to me really either. I think it most likely is like an ABC for a 4. So that would look like this if we have it. Oops, that's the wrong one. This looks more likely for 4. And you can see that it comes right perfectly up to that, the bottom of that resistance band as C. So that price there is like 106. And I just really vaguely, quickly did it. You would want to go in and put in the coordinates, but just eyeing that out.
So what resistance level is it at now for the wave 4? So this would be wave 4 or 5 of C.
We don't really have a good wave 2.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to try my best. I'm assuming that's bottom of wave 1 and that's 2 because it's a significant level.
Yeah.
So let's just use that. It's already come to 0.5. Right at the 382 now. Mm-hmm. So it could come to the 618 and still be valid. And that's where our subwaves are kind of pointing to. I don't think this is a consolidation pattern. Because what we just saw, it doesn't conform really nicely to that.
I don't know if it's going to even come up for C.
I think it would be hard. But like we were saying, Bitcoin can come all the way to 79,000.
Yeah.
Which isn't that far away. But
yeah.
Some of
and it already got really high.
Yeah, some of these, like they might not be perfect timing, but it could react more in the second time that Bitcoin goes for it. And this, unless we break back above the 117, like we were saying, this could still lead to our double bottom or our lower lows down here. and really should at least double bottom because of how strong this was for selling. Yeah, so this kind of is a little bit mirroring what we're seeing on XRP, where we're below our significant retracement level here. We're only targeting to kind of come back up to it as resistance and kind of come back down again and test these lows. The only thing that's going to change that, like we said, is breaking above this. Because once we get above the 618, it obviously makes it less likely that those lower supports will get reached. So yeah, I think that that's still in play there. And look how significant of a level this was.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely our subwaves are pointing toward it being continued resistance. But definitely if we get the strength to break it somehow, then it could serve as strong support.
Mm-hmm.
And even the corrections levels that we're coming down to mirror what we're seeing on XRP too, where XRP came really close to that 786 on Coinbase, could come to it again or even lower to 854. So it's very similar in that way. Our wave A, or this 4 here, if we're on this, did already come to significant levels.
Yeah.
Already came to that 0.5 retracement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's what's happening over here. Do you have any okay, Rave coin. That one has been crazy, right?
Yeah, crazy. Also Ethereum and
I'm just looking for...
I'm trying to see if I have any of these that...
I did have Rave. Was it that one that was going crazy?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I thought we were looking at that.
Yep.
Look at this. This is what we want to see in the altcoin.
Yeah, this is what we're about to see with XRP. I'm calling it now. Not yet. When it's ready.
It's sticking to fibs really nicely here. So this was our wave 4, and look how perfectly it came to wave 5.
Yeah.
And then look at our RSI.
Bearish diversions, yeah.
So
let's get the wave 2 put on.
This is wave 5. Right to that target there. In a second, we'll get zoomed in. But what we should see, let me just map out if we did top. I'm going to get zoomed in on the wave up, and we'll be able to see if it's ending. But I'm going to get just from there what a general correction could look like. That would put our correction low around $8.77, which is insane thinking about just at the beginning of April, it was 33 cents.
Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy. In a second, I'm going to get this subwave because we could be at just a wave 3 of it, but you can see it perfectly came to that target.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where wave 5, I wouldn't be taking this any further as far as a long goes, but let's just get reset here. We could even see like our A come down a little bit lower and then just like a heavier extension or retracement, but yeah. We would expect it to be, anytime your future mapping, you want to use the textbook targets until it proves otherwise. But we can see how this low is really perfect at the 0.5. So we could see our A come down a little bit lower. So that's what we would be expecting. Let's zoom in a little bit to see where this wave up, what that's looking like. Because this looks like pretty, like a strong ending here. That's really hard to decipher that wave, because why are we getting that sudden boost of momentum?
Well, because the fib was higher. I think it's done.
I think
it could come up and test that same level again, but I think it's topped.
That could be what happens, is it just double tops there to complete it, because this is pretty strong right here, this wave.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's just such a small like micro cap coin, it might just be weird.
Yeah.
It should stick to fibs really cleanly. Pattern, maybe not so much. But even in the correction that we had here, this was perfect. The pattern wasn't there, but it respected the fib at 0.5. And then obviously you can see how nicely it respected that higher fib there. So I think we're going to start to come down. So this could be a good time to scalp rate, even though this would be a very risky one because it's just been taking off like crazy. This could be a good scalp. And I would just obviously scalp this wave here, not all 5 waves, just to stay a little bit more conservative. With that first target being $14. So from our $20 to 14, that could be a good scalp there. We'll come back to this one and kind of see how it plays out.
I think we only have time for one more altcoin, Cass.
Okay. Do you have any other ones to look at?
Well, we've gotten a few for Ethereum, QNT, RSR. I can flip to my Ethereum and QNT.
I'm really curious where Ethereum is at. I usually avoid that one. Like mine has spider webs all over it. Like it's a caution. Like don't look into this one.
I don't like the chart. Just to be honest, I don't
like the chart either.
We'll flip to mine though.
And I don't really like the project either. So that one I try to avoid.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. We got a lot to say about it. Yeah, don't get us started about that. So this is Ethereum on the weekly. And yeah, so I haven't even come back to this in a long time. So I know Cassie's definitely going to call out my fibs. So we were tracking a perfect 5-wave structure from that bottom there. It perfectly hit. Well, I guess not perfectly, but it did form a 5-wave top and has already formed an ABC correction for wave 2. So from this bottom here at wave 2, since it hasn't made a new low past this low here, we're still within the macro wave 3. So we have our macro wave 3 target here up at 8,700. So everything that has formed right here so far above this level here at 1,000, this is all subwaves part of that wave going up to 8,700.
And it's broken structure so many times that it's like I don't even know if I would trust that wave 3 coming up. Because look at the subwaves of it.
Yeah, so from this, everything was perfect until this wave right here. So everything was going textbook perfect from the very beginning with this ABC correction, and then even this first impulse, and then its correction, and then right here is where it failed. Because right here is where we should have seen Ethereum break into a new high. Right here is where it should have gone up as high as that 8,700. You can see it only double topped during that wave. So everything from, I guess, this high here is just out of line, I guess, is what you would say. We would have definitely seen Ethereum push to a new high here. Since we didn't, we're going to be tracking this as the subwave 2 correction of wave 3. So you can see the trend line here from the bottom at this 11 or 1,000 here. This is following this trend line pretty nicely. And right now it just came down. It bounced off of this correction low at the 786, and then from this top here, right at that correction low, right at this 854 here. So I do think that this is major support on Ethereum. I don't think Ethereum really looks like it's going to be going to a new low. I think it looks like the bottom is in on Ethereum. So this is on the weekly time frame. So this is that very zoomed out view. But as you can see, just critical levels have already been met in this correction so far. So this is looking very different than Bitcoin. We used to follow Ethereum and trade Bitcoin off of Ethereum's chart just because of how clear Ethereum was. But this is...
And now it's not.
And now it's not. Now this is not normal market structure. You don't really want to see this.
Ethereum is dead.
Yeah.
Like someone said in the last live stream, Ethereum is the NFT of crypto now.
That's funny.
Yeah, yes. So I don't like that. And I remember when I posted Ethereum chart saying it's going to come up to a double top, and I literally got the most hate I've ever gotten on any chart, and it definitely did that. So where are all you now?
I think definitely is the word of the week.
Definitely.
Definitely. This is the word of the week. But yeah, so here, this is looking like support here on Ethereum. The extension targets are still the same because it didn't make a new low, and we're still within this wave here. So since we're still within those waves, the extension targets are the same. We still have that push to 8,700 if it can break past that double top. So that's what we're going to be watching for, is it heads up. But just looking at this chart here, it's so different than Bitcoin. It's on a completely different wave than Bitcoin, different market position, which is definitely interesting to see. But
if it even has a position.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, so this,
that makes no sense.
This right here is what is not right. So it would need to come up and break into a new high. But for now, we're at supports. I think this is going to hold as support here. So, or even come right back down to here, but hold this trend line going forward. So,
so do you think it's going to break up into like a wave 3?
Yeah, I do think at any time it really is missing a wave 3 of 3. And so that's what should be coming if this is going to follow normal market structure. That's what should be coming next. Yeah. It's a big push. We could measure that too, and I thought I had it somewhere in one of these fibs, but it's still the same because it hasn't made a new low. We're still playing off those fibs that haven't been reached yet. So it would be looking something like this.
Oh, you have it as the 1 tar. Just put on the 1618.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
And there, and that's that.
So on this fib, so it's still the same fib set. I like to put on the 618. I just want to see where the 618 is real quick, and then I want to put on the 1618. Or is it on? Is that? Oh, huh? Okay. I was like, what? Yeah.
So that would be wave 3 of wave 3, the subwaves of that. Yeah. And that's right around what, 6,500?
Yeah. So soon, if this is going to be following still on this wave 3, we would need to see a big push off this low here up to 6,500, and that would be the wave 3 of 3. So that's what we're still waiting for these to be met. So this is just very weird. Normally it doesn't look like this. This is why we don't like charting Ethereum or even really going over Ethereum that much, just because how bad this chart looks.
It broke market structure when it was supposed to be really bullish.
This one I just flipped over to it. I haven't been on QNT in a long time. So I had these, so I had these marked as the 5-wave impulse that should have been from the low. But look how much has been ranging sideways completely and using that same, so it hasn't made a new low past this low here.
Below 2 it has. Your 2 made a slightly new low.
Oh, I see what you mean. From here, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't, so let me delete that because I haven't even used that yet. So it hasn't made a new low past this low here. So we're still on wave 1 and 2. So the levels that we need to watch for.
You have that as the all time? I think you need to pull it up, right?
The all time. So it's still, so this is, so I moved, so look, this is, so that was, so what, don't pay attention to the 5-wave that I just had because,
okay.
So this is the wave 2 at the 854 right here. It went past the 854. This will be wave 1, 2, the subwaves of that wave 3 going up. So it would look something like this. And then we need 3, 4, 5. So something like that.
It's crazy how
so
long
this has just been literally doing nothing because it's still within these waves here. So really nothing has changed. I'm going to get the subwave 2 on here.
Was it QNT or ONT that we were like really into when it was like had its first?
It was ONT. We were trading ONT I think for a little bit, but it was just a hot minute. and then we moved on very quickly. So this is that 5-wave that should be playing out. Even though it's taken so long in time, it's still within this subwave 2 here. So these are the levels that we're going to be tracking. This is the, if you are trading this though, you should be putting in the coordinates of these fib sets.
What is your wave 3 there, Tar? The price?
Wave 3?
Mm-hmm.
What, this wave 3?
Yeah.
I'm going to remeasure it.
Okay.
So let's get this. So this is sub wave 3. But the main wave 3 will have...
It's not too much different, but...
So this is just sub wave 3. So this was wave 1, 2. The main wave 3 is going to be higher than the 5th.
What is that, 514? Like, I can't see the price.
1 second. It's 705. So that still hasn't changed. So this is the macro wave 3 up at $705. And so the way that it has formed so far, with the subwaves already being printed of this 3 here, of this subwave 3 of 3. This is looking like...
I think you need to put the 2618.
Okay.
I think it's more likely that wave 3 would extend.
Yeah, so we'll see. So this next wave that should be coming, as long as they can hold this 854 support here, which is very significant support, as long as it holds this 67,000 here, we're looking at these same targets coming up. So it does look like Q&T has also found a low in this correction, and it should be pushing up for subwave 3 of 3 soon. So we have that first conservative target at 349 and then 534 coming next. So this does look like it could be on... Some of these altcoins look like they could take off without the rest of the market. Yeah. So, or this could just go sideways till they're all ready at the same time. But either way,
that it knows how to go sideways. That's for sure.
I can't believe how long this has been doing nothing. So that's the plan for QNT. As long as it holds this level here, then we still have the same targets because all the measurements and extensions will be the same.
Okay, let's do a little bit of a recap before we close out.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so I have XRP here. This is on the hourly. This is what I've been tracking. This is what based on my count, this is wave E of wave 4. So a consolidation ending with this final push up. And I have it broken down into a 5 wave. But what we've kind of seen is the ABC is printing kind of the similar targets here. So I'm just printing it, or I'm just marking it as a 5 wave because the extension here was perfectly reached for a wave 3. So I'm going to continue mapping it as an impulse. So that would mean that we have our wave 4 coming down, and our targets here are $1.43 to $1.41. Most likely $1.41 because, that sets up our wave 5 perfectly to the $1.53 resistance. So that's really what I'm expecting, is that we come down, in the next 2 days. What we saw in the RSI is we really have about 2 days to bring that RSI down, so that we can print a bearish top on our daily. But we'll see if this happens in the next few days, coming down for wave 4 with a final top to $1.53. What we're seeing in the same extensions is that we could get a little bit more extended up to our larger resistance at $1.65. Both of these are significant resistance levels on XRP. So it's printing out kind of for both, where we come up for, that $1.53 or even as high as $1.65 and still come down from there to our lower supports. So this is really why we keep stressing that nothing changes until our scenarios start to get invalidated. So unless we break above $1.65 on Coinbase and flip that to support, our lower supports down here are still valid. So our lower supports down at $1.0987 on Coinbase, keeping in mind that Binance and some of the other exchanges are about 10 cents off. So same with up here as well, where our $1.65 is more like $1.54 on Binance. So we're looking at that. And then down below, 10 cents off as well. The 786 is $1 on Binance. The 87 cents is actually 77 cents on Binance. So what it's looking like as it's developing is, one, we are not seeing really significant momentum in this push. We're actually printing bearish tops, and the measurements are coming right up to test resistance and not breaking out at this point. So that's what I'm leaning on, still to plan. That's my buy is still down below at 93 cents, and that's not going to change until $1.65 is flipped to support. And when we say flip to support, we're not saying come up to it as resistance. We're saying have a break of that resistance and then back down to support. That would be a flip to support, not coming up as resistance. So that's what we'll be watching for in the next few days and into next week. Is our subway 4 up to test resistance and then strong down from there. And when people talk about timing, it's hard to know back over here our timing, because we had a really nice ABC printed, but then months have gone by and kind of forced this consolidation pattern. But if you want to put this into perspective, this is the final E wave of consolidation, and we are on just the last 2 little waves before we start to come down. So yeah, I think that any time now, once we come up and test as resistance, we should start to be making our way down towards lower supports. So. And that does mirror with what Tara is seeing over on Bitcoin. Do you want to quickly share what you're seeing on Bitcoin, Tara?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
I'll flip over to you.
Okay. Well, just quickly here on XRP, I wanted to show you on Bitfinex and the other exchanges. Where it's at right now is the macro 618 at $1.47. So very significant level in the market here on these larger exchanges, where the 618 is exactly at $1.47. You can see it broke up above it.
Tara, that's XRP.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to tell you this. But the trend line, like you were showing, is showing that there's going to be resistance soon. But this is the level that really needed to flip on those other exchanges to be bullish. So this is that textbook target for this entire correction. So coming up above it is a very significant move right here. So we need to watch this further. And like Cassie said, there is resistance coming at $1.53. I'm wondering if it comes to $1.53 and then comes right back down to $1.47 and holds support. So we're going to watch this over these next few days of what happens in these next few days is going to be so critical for the market. So we have to pay very close attention to that. On Bitcoin, so just like on XRP, Bitcoin is also coming up to very critical resistance. So on this higher time frame, it broke down through the macro 382 support over here, and now it's coming up for the first time to test it as resistance. So it hasn't been able to test it as resistance yet. And you can see it got close within this last wave, still hasn't reached that 79,000. And I do think it's coming. What I'm assuming is going to happen is that we're going to come down to this 0.5 level here at 75.4 and then push up and test that 382 resistance at the 79,000 with a bearish divergence at that time. We have a small bearish divergence where it's almost at a double top with the price making a new high, but we'd like to see that stronger. And we'd also like this resistance to be met. So since we're so close here, this is what we're looking for, is a smaller wave that could reset the RSI. Looks like right to this MA here, right on top of the MA, and then come up for one more push up to the 79,000. When it's at the 79,000 is when we really need to watch it closely. It should definitely be resistance, but watching it closely for a flip above that and testing it as support is what would be that shorter term bullish scenario. So we're coming up to very critical levels in the market. So we'll watch that closely. Over the weekend, I do think that we're going to be coming up and it's going to be resistance. If it flips, it shouldn't be that first time anyway. So we'll watch that closely as it does. But when it comes up, we're going to watch for that new higher high on price, and then the RSI should be lower than where it is up here. So
to confirm a top.
exactly, to form that top that we want to see right at resistance. So as on this higher time frame, as long as we are below this macro 79,000, we still have that lower target at 50,000 still valid. So we'll be watching that as it develops throughout the next few days. So I think that's it for the recap.
Okay. And if you guys are interested in trading futures and leverage, and especially if you are in the United States, we highly recommend BloFin. It is one of the only exchanges that you actually have futures and leverage available to you being a U.S. resident. So we highly recommend them. One other great thing about BloFin is they are never in control of your funds. They use a third-party custodian and just mirror your balance over to their exchange. So that's something really great. You don't see them using your money for any type of shenanigans over there. And right now, we are doing a trading competition through April 21st. And first place and second place gets a piece of a USDT prize pool. So if you're interested, there's still time to join. We're looking for great traders to join that with us. And it's a really smaller group, so there is a pretty good chance if you're a good trader that you actually do win that competition. There's only probably 25 people in that competition. So very good chance to win that if you're interested. So you just have to sign up with our Twins of Crypto link. And I'm going to put our link as well as the trading competition link down into the comments on X. And we'll probably do that over on YouTube as well. Yeah. So we really appreciate all of you being here. We go live every single Friday. So we hope to see you all in the next one.
Yep. And if you missed any of our recording, the full replay is posted on our Twitter pages. And then also, obviously, on YouTube, you can go back through the live as well. So make sure to like it and share it with all of your friends. And we will see you on the